Might as well get this started. Thank you guys very much for coming out to talk with us. My name is John Erickson. I chair the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And Richard Gregorio, Carolyn, and Annie are on the committee with me, and so is Jackie here doing all of the heavy lifting anyway. So we've got a presentation put together that I'll take you through very quickly, and then we'll get to some questions and answers about what we're doing. And this is not a meeting where we tell you what we're going to do or what we're thinking. This is a meeting where you tell us what you would like us to do, so we can take that and all the information that we got from a survey that we did and make a presentation to the select board. So, if you can go to the first slide.
Sorry, it froze on me.
Oh, well, you had it. There it is. So here's really the problem that triggered the this committee being formed. Going back to 2017 all the way through the FY23 budget, you can see the costs in the orange here of what we're calling the transfer station. This includes all of the salaries, all of the expenses for trucks. It includes landfill cap maintenance as well, but also the tipping fees to actually dispose of the solid waste. The gray line is the revenue, and revenue is, it's going up, but it isn't going up at the same rate as the expenses. And this is the problem, because the gap between these two has to be covered by the tax rate. And this is on an unsustainable trajectory. As the tipping fees, the expense to get rid of the trash and get rid of the recycling, as that gets more and more expensive, more and more of it is falling on the tax rate. And we've got to do something about it. So I know that we discussed it at the Finance Committee. We went to the Select Board, and they put this committee together to look into the options that we've got for solid waste in Middleton, and figure out a way to make this all work. So, go to the next one. So, this is the charge that the Select Board gave us. Look at options, look at how it's financed, look at where the money is going. Also to have a survey, which we did, and a community meeting, which we're doing right now, where we can gather information. And then based upon all of the input that we've got, make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen on which way we're going to go. And I think we're going to do that at the Saturday operational budget meeting sometime in February. But we hope to have this wrapped up by the end of this year. So we have one member of the Select Board, Jeff Garber is that member. He's not here tonight. Two members of the Finance Committee, myself and Richard. Two at-large members, that's Carolyn and Annie. And then Town Administrator, Jackie, and then Public Works Director and Finance Director. They both showed up to every meeting, but not here this evening. Next. All right, so as I said, one of the things we're doing a cost analysis of the transfer station budget. How much money is being spent on salaries? How much money is being spent on maintenance, fuel and oil for trucks? And how much money is being spent on hauling the trash away and disposing of it? Resident input from an online survey, we had 121 responses to the survey, which is a little over 5% of the single-family homes, but certainly it's not a wide-ranging sample of everybody in Middleton. How many people here filled out the survey and sent it in? So, okay.
I wasn't aware of it.
When did that come out?
About a year ago.
Yeah, it was about a year ago.
And there were hard copies at the library and the COA as well.
So there were copies around at any rate, so, but, you know, now we're having a public meeting, so if you guys missed sending, giving your opinion in the survey, and that was a pretty early, an early survey in the process, feel free to write anything down and give it to us so that we can have that information. And we've done some basic cost comparisons between the transfer station model that we have today and like the curbside pickup model. We actually had one local trash hauling company gave us I'll call it a budgetary price model for doing curbside pickup. Next slide. So, the trends. All the way on the left, dumping fees. This is for dumping the trash, it goes to an incinerator, it gets burned. That fee is going up. That's probably one of the biggest drivers. The recycling fees, surprisingly, it costs us now to do the recycling. It used to be that someone would pay us to pick up the paper. We still get paid for scrap metal, but that's the only thing. Now we have to pay to get rid of the paper. Glass is actually more expensive than the regular trash to get rid of. Plastic is expensive to get rid of. The tin cans and aluminum cans, it's better just give them to the Boy Scouts if they've got that little, if there's a deposit on them. But it's expensive to do the recycling, and it's getting a lot more expensive, mostly because China used to take in a lot of this kind of recycling material, and they have stopped doing that. And so the market for this material has really kind of collapsed. So it's getting tougher and tougher to get rid of recycling. Environmental regulations, they're always being tightened up. It affects the places that are, say, incinerating the trash more than it affects us, but it reflects back down on us. Getting rid of clothing, you can no longer just toss clothing material in the trash. Mattresses you can't throw in the trash. That kind of stuff has got to be handled separately. So there's a lot more separation of the trash going on, and it costs more to do that. Wages are going up. We don't have a huge staff on the at the transfer station, so it's not the biggest driver, but it is not insignificant. Equipment maintenance, we tend to want to keep our equipment in pretty good repair, so we're spending on maintenance, but we're not having the catastrophic failures that require, huge amounts of money to be put into the equipment. And utilities is really kind of minor, so it gets less and less of an impact as you go from left to right, really. But the two on the left, those are the ones that are killing us. Next. Okay, so the survey questions that we sent out, they covered some broad themes. The current waste disposal method, we asked people, what are you using? Do you have private trash hauler, curbside pickup? Are you in a condominium and you're using the central dumpsters? Are you using the transfer station? Do you have a recycling sticker only, or are you using the recycling? How do my residents use the transfer station? They have their reasons that we wanted to know if they had any real specific reasons for coming to the transfer station. It's such a fun place to be. We wanted to know exactly what everyone loves about it. Turns out it's the swap shop. I hate the swap shop. But the swap shop's not going anywhere. Budget and service preferences. What would you rather do? If you could pick curbside pickup and not have to go to the transfer station, would you prefer that? And I say that without saying it's going to cost more to have curbside pickup. It's true that it will. Honestly, it's not as expensive as you would think. It's a little bit more expensive than our current model when you include all of the people that have the private trash collectors coming and picking it up. And then demographics, we wanted to know who was answering the questions. Next. So, current waste disposal methods. So these are the people that answered the survey. So, more than half have transfer station stickers. Now you're getting like almost 3/4 because of second car stickers. You can assume that if you've got a second car sticker, you've also got one of these. Doesn't mean you're dumping more trash, just means you're using 2 cars to do it. Then there's people that have just the recycling sticker. So consider condominium dwellers who have the trash, but they don't have a separate recycling stream and they want to do recycling. So they'll get a recycling sticker and they'll go to the transfer station just for the recycling. And then private curbside pickup, and then a couple of people that had dumpsters also responded. So this is the group that responded. You can see it's heavily weighted towards people that are using the transfer station. So keep that in mind when you're looking at some of the other data. Go ahead. All right. So satisfied with trash disposal? Most people agree that they're happy with it. The price is reasonable. A lot of people agree that it's pretty reasonable. I will tell you that the dump sticker is the best deal in town, and it can't stay that way. So, just saying. And satisfied with recycling. People are satisfied with that as well. So, not too many strongly disagreed. It's unclear exactly who answered which question. Maybe those are the guys with the dumpsters and they don't have any recycling, but they could always buy a recycling sticker. Don't know. Next. All right, so here we're asking for the people that use the transfer station, what is it that you're using? So, people that use it for trash probably also use it for recycling, so there are some people that are using it just for recycling. The scout shed is right here. That's people like the scout shed. Bulk items, I mean, if you're gonna get rid of bulk items, it's pretty, what is it, $25 for a bulk item or something?
Yep.
It's not that expensive. Mattress recycling, that's kind of new, it's coming, a swap shop. And then here's your textile recycling and donations. Donating clothes, there's a bunch of donation bins, that's a good way to get rid of they have to be at least in decent shape. If they're really rags, then they've got to go in the trash. And then electronics recycling, it's always a problem. Next.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
What I don't see up there is the bins for like grass and clippings and all that kind of stuff, and you know, the brush thing. I mean, like
There is periodically brush collection, grass clippings, leaves, stuff like that.
well, they have like up where you go to dump the trash. They have the 2 big dumpsters that you can dump your grass, your leaves. So, my house is surrounded by 4 other houses. I'd love to be able to dump my grass over the fence, but that's not really nice. So I have to, those bins are so great, you know, fall cleanup, you have all that stuff, you can just take it and dump it there, and the brush, right, I prune my trees.
Yeah.
You can't put that in the grass.
We didn't list everything, like you don't see oil collection.
That's not done.
That's gone. They
But
say you
that's
can't
gone.
do that.
And that's a huge liability for the town. All it takes is one knucklehead to dump the wrong thing into the oil collection bin, and we've got a hazardous waste problem. So that's why that's gone.
But the grass thing, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
It
is
was on
important.
the survey.
Thank you.
I don't think so.
We didn't assess grass clippings because those don't go, we don't have to get rid of them.
Oh, yeah.
It's grass clippings, so we didn't, it doesn't cost
Yeah,
anything.
We composted
But-
it ourselves.
We do.
If we get,
Yeah.
but if you get rid of the transfer station and those things are gone, where do I put my grass?
In your backyard compost.
I don't want to compost.
Over the fence to your neighbor's compost pile.
I don't think they want to compost, but I'll check.
If you do it right, it doesn't smell at all. You can compost all that stuff and it works
But
really well.
John, communities that do curbside, pickup, also do periodic yard waste pickups. Like Salem, Beverly, Danvers, they do that. That's part of going to a curbside pickup model.
Right.
But Peter, we'll note that as a question.
I mean, are there anybody else in
tonight,
here
because-
who uses that?
I use it
Yeah,
all
all
the
the
time.
time.
Yeah, so it's important, we'll have to note it.
Batteries, rechargeable batteries, you can also recycle at
Rest
the,
of tubes,
up there.
batteries, glass and tubes.
Sharps as well, there's a bin for disposing if you've got hypodermic needles or something, great case. So there's a few other smaller things that we didn't really bring up in the survey. Next. All right, what day? Now, this was brought up because it looks like it would be less expensive if we could get rid of Sundays. Now, this says that, oh no, a lot of people like using it on Sundays, and I get it. But I think one of the real reasons is certainly for me, I want Saturday and Sunday because I'm not home on Wednesday when the transfer station is open. So there's a possibility that we could have some evening where the transfer station's open. Maybe noon to 8 or something like that. So we had 2 weekdays, one of them would go into the evening, so you'd have a couple of opportunities, you'd have, for people who are working, you've got an opportunity to get there in the evening. So that's why we asked this question. Wednesday is the least used, but
Makes sense.
not by a significant amount. And keep in mind, this is only 121 people responding, hardly a statistically significant sample.
Does, the DPW, transfer station people give you some idea of the amount of traffic on those days? That might be a better gauge than.
Oh,
They say match.
it correlates to
Yeah.
that.
That's what they said.
Do you have to pay them more if they're working on Sunday? Is that what the
Yeah.
problem is?
So that's one of the issues. It's harder to get people to work on Sunday, and depending upon if you've got to call someone in because someone's out sick or something, it could be much more expensive. But wages are fundamentally, that's the thing that would drive getting rid of Sunday in favor of another weekday.
I think the other thing to note is that the DPW has gone through some really big changes in staffing because of retirements. And so that's been a really difficult thing to overcome, to hire new people who are willing to spend their weekends.
Right. And Sundays are the hardest days to staff, so we're wondering if can we relieve them of that load a little bit by maybe having a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule, if so long as at least one of those weekdays was in the evening, or both of them in the evening, then we might be happy with that.
Do you have the stat on the total number of stickers that were issued? So I know the sample size is 111. Total number of stickers?
Number of stickers.
I thought it was like 1,500.
So this year it's 1,500 and change, that's a little high this year, actually. I think historically it's been averaging about 1,200 first stickers a year.
Okay.
But we're already to 15 this year, so it just happened, so I haven't had time to go and drill down why.
And that was like a
Recycle and trash, or that's just?
That's trash.
trash. And there was about 100 survey responses.
121.
But how many with dump stickers? About 100? Is that about right? Just that?
102.
102, so about 10%?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Yeah.
Yes.
What is a rough percentage of salaries compared to the total budget? 20%, 30%, 40%?
I have to look that up rather than just throw it out there. I'll tell you what, I'll dig that
We'll look
answer
it
out
up.
for you.
But keep going, because it might take me a second to find it.
Sure, okay. So this question was, how would you prefer the town fund the solid waste removal? Not the transfer station exactly, just in case, you know, it would be a curbside pickup choice. But what would you prefer? So about 8% of the people said put it all on the tax rate, no sticker fees, nothing. We either get to go dump it at the transfer station. I'm going to say for free, but it's all on the tax rate, so it's, nothing here is free, believe me. Or if it's curbside pickup, the city, the town pays it all. 21% said the exact opposite, have the users of the service pay 100%. Most people were kind of at the current paradigm, which is it's split between taxation and sticker fees.
Big percentage for you.
Next slide.
Do you want to answer that question? It's just under 29% of the transfer station budget is salary and wages.
Yeah, so this is just under 29%, about $150,000.
Including part-time and overtime.
Yeah, it's part-time, overtime.
Overtime is almost $55,000 a year.
On what?
On salaries for overtime and part-time,
Yeah, we have a lot of part-time employees, of
Right.
course. There as well, so.
It's roughly
But-
30%, I said 20,
Right.
40.
Yeah,
It's
roughly.
a ballpark.
It's about 30%. Some of that expense might be coming out of this particular part of the budget, like the cap maintenance and testing fees, just because it's not really part of the transfer station, but it is taking care of the landfills that the town owns, so.
That's gonna continue no matter what.
What, exactly,
Oh, it's gonna continue,
Doesn't matter with transfer station or curbside, that's,
right.
but for the purposes of determining how this should be paid for, you probably shouldn't consider that kind of fixed cost.
yeah, I mean, the capping and any of those associated fees should just be in the tax rate, period.
Exactly.
Yeah, how much is that, by the way, as a percent, how much is that stuff?
75,000,
Okay.
I wrote that down on my list.
So relatively minor
Here,
against the
That is
half a
the
million.
ongoing landfill maintenance
Right.
capping.
Yeah.
That
And we're gonna
separate
carry
from
that
capital warrant
forever.
articles
Yeah.
to do larger environmental projects that we are being regulated to do. That's just the ongoing maintenance.
But our annual maintenance of monitoring our old landfills is 75,000
Right.
annually, but that's probably bill.
Right, so, and as Jackie said, that's just the ongoing expense that's currently built into the operating budget. But there are, I mentioned that there are environmental regulations that are changing, and some of them are gonna force us to do some additional projects on monitoring and repair of the two landfills that we're taking care of.
But we're gonna have to do those
No matter what.
no matter whether you have curbside or
Oh,
transfer
yeah.
station.
Right.
That's kind of why I want to kind of pull them out of this little part of the budget, just so that we can have a cleaner picture of how we should be charging.
But that was in the $523,000 number, did have the 75K in it.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
first couple
That's what
slides
we're
at
saying.
500, all of that
Yeah.
stuff was in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you took, and I'm just thinking, that's a good point. If you take the 75,000 out of that 500 something number, and then you do that comparison, right? That 75,000 we have to pay for as taxpayers. So if you took that out, since it's irrelevant to this conversation really, and you brought that 570 or 550, whatever it was, would now drop to 475. So the transfer station sticker money and the gap between that and the cost of the transfer station becomes a lot less. And I think that's important because if people are considering tax rate versus transfer station sticker, right? If I know I already have to pay for that 75,000, well, then I'm really only looking at this extra 200,000. Where
Yeah.
should it come from? Stickers or
So it's a
taxes?
matter of how you want to split it up. Salaries, how much of the salary should be, I'll say, fixed cost that should be on the tax rate? So like maintenance of the equipment there, that might want to be on the tax rate. But certainly, all of the tipping fees for getting rid of the trash
Yep.
and all of the recycling fees, that should be on the sticker.
Correct.
And that's the part that's growing.
Right.
So, and there's a few other things, like fuel and oil for the trucks. The more trash you haul, the more fuel and oil you burn. So maybe there's a split between tax rate and sticker fees on that. So it gets into the weeds pretty quick, doing that analysis.
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't have the fleet of trucks to haul it, would you have reduced headcount at the DPW to take care of trucks? Probably not, right?
Yep, that's true. And one of the alternatives is let a company come in and run the transfer station.
Or manage the fleet, trucks?
Right.
Yeah?
John, in thinking, about where to come up with the money to fund this, whether it's curbside or transfer station or where, I think, we all need to keep in mind that in town, we have about 2,150 single-family homes and almost 1,000 condos. And the condos won't have access to either the transfer station or curbside pickup.
Yep.
So if it's funded solely by the tax rate, it's sort of fundamentally unfair to condos.
So, and businesses are in the same boat.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm sensitive to that. It's easy to say, put it all on the tax rate and everyone else can subsidize my getting rid of trash. And I'm not on board with that. Other people are, but that's coming down to exactly how the funding mechanism.
Right. Have you guys done any sort of like preliminary calculations on if we just did the because I agree, if maybe the condos, for example, shouldn't pay for it if they're not getting to use it, but the calculation of what the transfer station sticker cost would have to go up, assuming this 1,300 or 1,400, let's say 1,300 people average use it, how much would the transfer sticker?
Depends on where you want to draw the line between what's a cost that should be part of the tax rate of having a transfer station versus the incremental rate of dumping trash. And right now, the trash sticker is $125. I ran a calculation that I thought was reasonable, and the trash sticker should be like $195. Still a great deal,
It's a great deal.
It's fine.
right? But still, it's a big jump.
In my view, the recycle sticker should go up, because the recycling is cost of significantly.
And there's that as well. And I'll have to look at the analysis, see what we did with the recycle sticker. Because we should be able to break
Well, it
that
was-
cost out too.
It was free not
Sorry?
too long ago, recycling.
I'm not gonna minimize that increase, but it's not ridiculous.
No,
Right.
not for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think getting a garbage company to come pick it up is gonna be more expensive.
Yeah.
And many people won't have their places to put the grass.
And it's gonna keep.
Oh, yeah, but that's
They're gonna-
where I put it way.
Those tipping companies have all those increases coming
Yeah,
at them too.
that's not the latest one, but yeah, the
You think it's gonna
recycling
stay the
sticker did
same?
go up.
But I think $25.
Their trash pickup.
Yeah.
The cost of recycling, disposing of recycling is not
Yes,
$2.
exactly.
Right.
And they fall down a
So
little
I see
bit.
the disparity between 150 and 25.
Yeah.
I'm on the townhouse, so I have budgeted
When I
my
see my
HOA
neighbors
to
on Sunday.
It might be valuable if everyone
Right.
listened to what the members of the board were saying. I'm sorry.
So, oh, and we're on to the next slide. So we can circle back to how the costs are gonna be divided up. I have,
You have like 3 or 4 slides left before
Yeah.
you're gonna open it up for full
Yeah.
discussion anyway.
so let me just carry on. So, preferred waste disposal method, curbside versus transfer station. That's pretty much the proportion of the people that are currently using the transfer station versus having their own trash picked up. So next, demographics. So age distribution and what type of home, single family, multifamily, or condominium. A lot of people 18 to 25 filled out the survey, so
Most of them don't even know.
probably 10 times. Next. All right, so, the broad strokes, it ranges from all private curbside or publicly funded curbside to the in-house transfer station or an outsourced transfer station, hiring another company to run it. And one is not even up here, is just close it all, let everyone else, let them sort it out however they want to do it, hire whoever you want to haul your trash.
Well, isn't that all private curbside, right?
Sorry?
That would be all private curbside, right? Like, close it, everybody gets
Yeah,
private curbside.
that's true, all private curbside, just close the transfer station, let everyone
Up to
sort
North
it out.
Liberty and dumping it at the side of the road.
Next. So this is probably the busiest slide, but it shows you, we did this shortly after we got some survey results, just to kind of, guide what we were thinking of. Here's down at the bottom, close the transfer station, residents contract with trash disposal companies directly. Up at the top, we've got curbside pickup, contract negotiated by the town. There's user pay towards the left, so that's, the users are going to pay a contractor that the town negotiated, and PAYT is pay as you throw, so maybe that's, you would negotiate depending on how much trash you were getting rid of. Or it's all on the tax rate over here on the right-hand side. We investigated, or we talked about curbside pickup for the trash, but transfer station basically for the recycling and the hazards and the bulk. This is the most expensive model. Not only are we paying someone to drive around town to everyone's house, we're also running a transfer station.
Yeah.
Transfer station, trash only, no other services. That's great, but what are you going to do with your recycling? You cannot throw the recycling in the trash. Obviously, you can throw your recycling in the trash. So there you go. You can throw it in the trash, but they look at the trash when it shows up at the incinerator, and if there's a bunch of glass bottles in it, they're going to reject it. And now what are you going to do? You've got to, the town, someone has got to sort through it, take all the glass bottles out, throw them in the recycling, then bring it back. That would be a disaster. So, regulation-wise, you're not permitted to throw your glass, your recycling in the trash stream. So that's why I say, just don't do it. It saves the town a bunch of money, dump all the bottles in the trash. That's not going to fly. That's going to get us tossed out of the incinerator where we've got a contract.
But also, if there's a state mandate, then it could be something for fines.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, yeah.
Didn't
I
Charleston
don't think the
recently
fine is
have
going
a
to be
big
more
fine?
expensive than the cost of having to sort the trash, but
Yeah,
but still.
we have had loads turned around, right? And
Yeah,
Paul's not
plastic,
here,
he
but-
said.
And
It's mostly because people put plastic bags in the plastic, which you can't do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to say that louder, Andy, right into the camera? That, what doesn't happen?
You are not to put a plastic bag in the plastic recycling.
Please.
It gets rejected and then it comes back and then we have to sort it and.
It messes up the machines.
Can I just interject at this point, a pet peeve that I go through 2 to 3 times every week, okay? If we are going to maintain having a transfer station, can we please do it right? I mean, we have magic marker, no plastic bags on the sides of the huge dumpster, and we really think someone is. I can get online to the Mass Department of Environmental, and pull up bona fide signage that you could print on a color printer and laminate and put up there that would be 10 times better than what we provide our own citizens as direction for what they're supposed to do or not do.
And the other half of that is you put a trash can right next to the big plastic bin for those bags.
With magic marker
Right.
bags.
Right, empty your bags into here and then put the bags in there. That would work.
And almost every week I dig trash out of there and take it down to the dumpster, you know, so.
Public service you're doing for us. One
So-
thing-
I mean, the thing is,
that was
those
something-
trash cans are there.
Yeah, so
Those are-
signage
there have
was
to be
something
trash
that came
cans
up
there, yeah.
during our site visit, was like educational signage.
Totally.
Would be probably really valuable. Again, staffing is an issue. So
Well, I think
who's gonna make the signs?
we're working on getting, we're getting new signage. I think that was made
Yeah.
clear wildly before we even got to tonight. But I think the hardest thing is, even with that additional signage, we are gonna be working to do some additional public education, because I think even with additional signage, we don't have enough attendants to sit at every station and monitor people and what they're doing. We hope that people are gonna come in with good faith and follow the signage. I own very much we need new signage, but even when that signage is in place, we wanna make sure that we're following it, because there are people that know the rules that don't follow them, but regardless of the signage. So it's definitely, we're working on signage, I promise.
I mean, a lot of these things are just like basic points of efficiency.
Yep.
The other pet peeve of mine is that when you're approaching the dumpsters, after you've gone past recycling, why, for all the years the transfer station's been there, we don't have a white stripe that says right side, yard waste and exit, left side, waiting for the 2 lanes, or 4 lanes, I should say, of the trash. In the fall, we watched that, you know, that traffic back up like it was, you know, intersection of 62 and 114. You know, just for the lack of a white line making 2 lanes, okay? The trash goes over here, if it's yard waste or exit, go over here. And we probably have hardly any lines ever. I can't think of anything more simple or basic than that.
No, that's great.
There's a bunch of stuff. We need to improve the flow. I mean, I'm presuming we're gonna keep the transfer station. We need to invest something in it to improve the flow.
Right. I mean, I think there's dividends to be paid just by doing what we already do a little bit better.
So, and the last thing on this slide is the current thing that we're doing here, the current transfer station, it's a matter of, how far should we lean this way or that way on sticker prices versus tax rate? So this, and for that, I believe it's gotta be fair to all of the people in Middleton, including the businesses. So that's what we're considering. And next, questions?
Can I just ask that people, if you have questions and comments, I'm trying to take notes as much as possible. If you can just talk loud for me so I can get all your comments and questions down, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm getting you down too.
This is more of a statement than a question. Myself, if I were to answer the question, do I think that the sticker price is reasonable? I say no. At most, I have 1 bag of trash every 2 weeks. That's $5 a bag. And the rest I recycle because I thought I was doing a good thing by recycling.
So there are ways to handle that issue as well, and think of a pay-as-you-throw model where you've got stickers that you put on the trash bag, and maybe the sticker is $2 just to make up a price. Someone who's got 20 bags is going to have $40 worth of expenses. Someone with 1 bag every couple of weeks is going to have much lower expenses.
Now I realize there's a cost of, this is a $5 bag, a $3 bag, and a $1 bag,
And that person to stand there and make sure every bag that goes in has got a sticker on it. I mean, there's a lot of logistical issues with that. There might be some other ways to solve that. We spoke about what was it? It was like on the senior work off program or something.
Right, that
We
if
could
someone
do
is involved in
a lot of
a program already to help supplement their property taxes or things like that, they could be also, that, those particular people could be on the plan
We could do-
to make the costs lower for them.
Yeah,
Like, I think that the thought was that if you were already receiving an exemption or an abatement for certain programs from the assessor's office, it would entitle you to a reduced cost sticker. I think,
It seems to me that post trash pickup, the other towns do, you get one trash bin, and if you want 2 trash bins, you pay extra for that, and so on. And the truck comes along and picks up the trash bin, that's, you know, so, that's probably the way it would be done and most economical,
What about recycling?
but, you know, well, they generally give you a little recycle box.
so I mean, that would work for the curbside, I think, because you're gonna come to the house like once a week. I'm not sure how it would work with the transfer station model though, because you come on Saturday, even if you limited, you can only throw 2 bags in or something. They could just go back and come back later and do it again, so.
I think the problem with curbside is that the other services don't get used, the Boy Scout stuff where people just like,
Sure.
oh, they're not gonna wanna make the trip.
Yep.
The trouble with it is there's garbage everywhere. We already have garbage everywhere, and we've had curbside, it's gonna be 10 times worse.
Jeff, you have a comment?
So I've got a couple of comments. If you go to a tax fully to fund the whole thing and anybody can come, many years ago when I came to town, 83, 84, there was no stickers. Everybody just went down to the dump, they dumped their trash. Well, you saw people from Danvers, Peabody, Reading, North Reading, everywhere, because nobody checked if you were from town. So you have to have a sticker to get in the dump, otherwise you're gonna get people coming from wherever to dump the trash. If we were to go to curbside pickup, my concerns would be, not every street in this town has sidewalks on both sides of the road. Many are rural, all there is a culvert. Wintertime, there's barely enough room for some cars to go, let alone having trash at the side of the road. Put it out the night before. Last year, we had a lovely bear visit our town and did a lot of damage. You put trash barrels out, unless everybody is going to buy very expensive bear critter resistant barrels, you're gonna have trash all over the place.
Well, you wanted to live in the country.
I like living in the country, and I have no problem with going to the transfer station. It's a great place to see your friends, meet, talk, whatever. So the trash at the side of the roads, having to have the right barrels, no sidewalks many areas. Those are the biggest problems that I see with going to a curbside pickup in this town. We're not Danvers with sidewalks everywhere, or Peabody. Very, very rural. If somebody only has one bag of trash every other week, you're still paying that company to drive down that road. Tipping fees go up, fuel fees go up, salaries go up, equipment maintenance goes up. You're gonna get hit every year with an increase from the trash company picking up, which means it's gonna go into our yearly taxes or our yearly rates. It goes up no matter what. Everything that was on that matrix pretty much transfers to the cost of a company picking up our trash. And it's just gonna, like every year, oh, the fee's gonna go up, the fee's gonna go up. Or, oh, their equipment broke down, they didn't pick up, they're on strike, there's this issue, that issue. So I see for this town, curbside pickup being a disaster.
And I just, one other thing, right, with storms and wind and the whole point, right? Thing gets left there for people where, you know, the household all works. You put your things out, you go to work, trash pickup comes, you're not there, right? A little bit of wind or something like that, it gets knocked into the middle of the road. And again, if it's in the winter, when you can sometimes barely get through with a car and a half, now you've got trash cans, somebody's got to pick it up and get out of the way if they want to drive through. I mean, there are a lot of those kind of things that just, and when you're driving through Danvers and stuff, you see that
It does
happen.
seem to work though for the people that have a private trash service. I mean, I don't get
That's,
I don't hear too much about how, oh my God, I gotta buy trash cans every 3 weeks.
But
Well, no,
there's also, like, a lot of those issues that were identified about issues that would be with curbside pickup are occurring because 1,000 single-family homes do private pickup. And, in my neighborhood, there's 3 different, people use 3 different companies, so 3 different days of the week, there is a trash truck coming into the neighborhood. So would it, if it went fully curbside, would there be more issues? Probably, but there are issues now with what, what's happening now.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think to the point that the total curbside would be. I drove through Danvers the other day, there's barrels, they have a barrel for recycling and a barrel for trash, one barrel each. And they're getting a $200 trash fee on top of that on their taxes. And it's a mess. Peter brought up the point about the leaves. This guy had leaves put out, it rained, there was leaves everywhere, the bags were wet. And, I'm talking to Paul before this, I've been here 60 years almost, and this, maybe I'm, kind of toward the transfer station, but I think it works, I'm totally against curbside, so. As Costa said, these people that do the curbside, one of my neighbors does it, and they actually have a dump sticker too, they do both. I don't know whether they have 4 children, so that's probably why they're in the trash, but, it's.
Piggybacking on what Costa said, I think it is about choice too, because right now, people can make a choice to have private pickup if they want it. I mean, we have a couple of houses in my area that have private pickup. But we can also all go, we can go to the transfer station, we love the transfer station, we love the swap shed. But you have a choice. If we close the transfer station, everybody is forced to go to curbside pickup, and we have no predictions of how high it could possibly go for what we would have to pay.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I'm not giving you any predictions on how high it can go.
yeah, but we're more control.
And
Just gonna
right
say the
now,
same thing.
The 125 a year for the pickup, that is dirt bloody cheap.
Yeah.
If you take, as we said, you take the 75K for the maintaining of the old landfill off the numbers, the cost current this past fiscal year was around $450, $475 or something.
Mhm.
If you just took the 1,500 stickers that we sold, not the extra recycling or any other income coming in, you need about $300 a year in sticker price to cover that $450, just by the 1,500 stickers. So, I don't know about other people, everybody's tight in money and this and that and everything else. If my sticker was $200 a year for my tipping fee, that's still to me better than what I would probably see on an increase in my taxes for curbside pickup.
I agree.
Right.
I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, so
It's a deal.
have you run the numbers? What is it, you said you had somebody come in, and what did that show?
Oh, for curbside? Well, when you consider the people who are paying on average like $600 per year for their current curbside, if you bring them into the mix, because if we had one company doing it, they would be there too. On average, they would save a little bit of money, but for the people using the transfer station, it would cost more, probably about 20% more than the transfer station model.
So you're saying from 125, you'd be up at around 150 something a year?
No, I'm not saying that.
He's looking at the fixed cost of the town portion.
so the 450 would go up, the 450,000 would go up by 20%.
Right.
Oh, okay,
That's
there we go,
what I'm
and the
saying.
cost.
Right.
So-
So, and you add, what did you say, 1,000 homes having,
Private pickup
But
above.
isn't the
right,
gap
so there's
that
another
needs to be
6, so
closed
it's over $1 million.
$250,000? Isn't that what it is? Yes. It's $250,000 gap that needs to be closed.
Yeah.
If you take that 75,000.
You take the 75, yeah.
Take the 75 off.
That's where we got
Can you
numbers.
put
But
up
it's
that
not,
first
the real point is not
slide?
250 today. that 250 is going to 300, it's going to 360.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well, it's
for a
gonna go that
trash
way
pickup
too
company,
with
it's gonna be the same
curbside.
thing, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this was a super
Oh,
long
yeah, that problem's
contract.
not going away,
No.
whether it's the transfer station model or curbside pickup. We were just asked by the select board, talk to people about what they want. If everyone said, oh, God, just let us have curbside pickup, well, then we'll head off in that direction.
So,
It's not really what we're hearing.
John, if you look at that, if you take the 75 off the 523, that's
Yeah.
about 450, which is about 225,000 over.
Yeah.
So it's doubling the current sticker income,
Right.
basically.
Pretty much that would do it. Make it go from 125 to 2 or 225.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to go up by that much, because the tax rate should pay for some of it.
Right.
So.
And you said 195 earlier.
But, yeah, like 195, something like that, I thought was a number that, I forget exactly what the details are.
It's still.
Still, I mean, and all the other stuff you can do there too. It's not just the trash.
Right. There'd be a lot of things you'd be left saying, oh, what do I do with this now? Or you'd be dumping illegally.
If we have methods to address people on fixed income where it's a stretch, then that even makes it more palatable.
My neighbor would be mad when I start dumping my grass.
Or setting up smoke signals.
Yes. Give the police
Yeah, so I think what you're trying to do is keep that gap even. Don't let the cost go up more than the offset.
Yeah.
If you look at the gap's getting bigger as we go along, right?
Right,
The cost is going up faster than the sticker price is going up.
right.
So if you maintain an even gap, then the sticker price goes up the same amount as the cost, right?
So, yeah.
And you still got a split between tax rate and
Yep.
sticker cost.
If we're staying with the transfer station model, then yes, that's the decision we have to make, is how much is gonna be on the tax rate, how much is gonna be on the sticker fee.
Yep.
So,
And for that, we have to look at what are the costs that are more, quickly rising, the tipping fees, and every year they're going up more and more. That's the problem that we see coming, that we need to solve. And we can't solve that on the tax rate, because with Prop 2.5, we're limited to 2.5% more revenue from property taxes. Yes, sir?
We have to try to cut down the cost of getting rid of the plastics and the tin cans and all that. Isn't that right?
On the recycling?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive, frankly, the market for that stuff has collapsed. So it's expensive to get rid of that.
Is there any way at all we can improve what we're giving them, that they would be taking?
John,
Separate the plastics more, or,
can I speak to that real quickly?
Oh, okay.
So one thing to keep in mind, so one of the things that we looked at when we brought this problem to the Finance Committee Select Board, when this committee was formed, was that since about 2004 to present day, with the exception of that first year of the pandemic when everyone was home cleaning out their basements, I think we all did some spring cleaning that year. So that year's a spike. We kind of said that doesn't really count, that's not fair. But for the most part, from 2004 to the present, including this most recent year, our tonnage for what's going to the incinerator has relatively stayed the same. So as the town has grown, as the amount of trash people have done has grown, people have put things into recycling. We've expanded that program. We've expanded glass. We've expanded scrap metal. So we have all of these other streams because the incinerator with the trash has historically been the driving cost of what's running transfer stations across the country. And we were doing really well, as John pointed out, when China had a market for a lot of those recyclables because we could get some money back or it would be cost neutral. We've now reached the point where the tipping for the trash has stayed. The tonnage has stayed relatively the same, but the cost per ton is skyrocketing. In my last community, I was negotiating that tipping contract, and in 1 year, we went from in the mid-70s per ton to the early 90s because just the cost of burning because of the environmental regulations has skyrocketed. Our current contract for the incinerator will expire this June, and we don't have those numbers yet, but we're expecting at least a 10% increase on what we currently have. And that's me feeling conservative. It could be more like 15. So I think this has been a really helpful discussion for me to hear because we have been pulling things off to these other streams, and we talk about trash. And to Jerry, to your point, you want to think through things of like, how can we reduce, how can we do these things? And the other trash and recycling streams we've created have helped reduce the tonnage that actually goes to the incinerator and be burned. And that's environmentally good, that's fiscally good, but we are reaching a point where we can't get rid of the glass the way we used to, we can't get rid of the paper the way we used to. And so the cost of just us making these things go away, there's no market for it. There's not a competitive vendor market. And that's part of the issue that we're seeing. Like certainly the landfill monitoring is a status quo cost. The cost of wages, the challenges with Sunday staffing, those are logistical challenges that have to be addressed. But just the ability for us to make the trash go away, there's not a competitive open market that wants those materials the way there used to be. And so we're just, us and many other communities are dealing with this where there's just nowhere for it to go unless we really just pay for it to go away.
That's gonna happen even with curbside.
Exactly.
Oh, 100%, I'm not saying it's not.
That's coming at us no matter
That's
what.
the reality no matter what.
Yeah, we're not solving the cost problem by going to curbside pickup.
No, we're not.
So, question,
Yeah.
on towns that do curbside, do they do single stream recycling, or is it separated out type of thing? Some places you go, just put all your recycling and they sort it out later.
So I guess that depends on what you ask for.
Right, but I mean, we haven't really looked as a committee or town at any of those different types of models. Okay, right now we have, 2,300 single-family homes. Give me a base price, Mr. Businessman, on curbside pickup with full recycling divided, with single stream, with only trash, no recycling. We don't have any of those kind of baseline numbers yet to compare with
So
anything.
we have one data point
Okay.
that a local company gave us, just no real specifics. It was like $1.2 million for all the single-family houses in Middleton. And it's kind of based on, that's about what I think it'll be. There's no, and we insist on single stream or separate stream, and we want this service and that service, and you gotta take one mattress a year from each. None of that.
Okay.
Just big round numbers, just to find out how does it stack up against the transfer station model.
Right, okay.
And when you consider the transfer station model handling a little bit over half the trash, and then people with private hauling, the other part of it, the full curbside pickup was about 20% more money than the $500,000 that we're spending here in the transfer station, plus the $500,000 that everyone else is spending to have their trash hauled. So that we've looked at just to see, is it crazy to talk about curbside pickup? And it's not crazy. It's a little bit more money, but it's not like it's twice as much money.
But you lose a lot of the other services.
But you could very well, it all depends on the contract that you've got. But you're right, we could lose some of the other things.
To get a better sense of that real cost, rather than the ballpark 1.2 million, is it possible for us to benchmark communities nearby? We're talking about Danvers, somebody was talking about Danvers numbers. I mean, I don't know what North Reading does, or some other communities that may be more like us in terms of our demographics and our town structure. Can we get those numbers from somebody else?
So,
Because 1.2 thrown out there doesn't really mean much.
there's so
Doesn't
many
mean
different
anything.
ways of doing it that it was hard to sort through how it would apply to Middleton. I mean, Jackie did a ton of work on,
Whether you use it or not.
So-
you pay for it and you tax it.
So this is my little spreadsheet here, and I don't want to read to you, but I can just to give you a sense of
Pivot table.
where we are. I will say this is not fully up to date because both Boxford and Topsfield do curbside, and they're often our comparables just because we're neighbors, we share schools, like it's very easy locationally. They both just renegotiated their curbside contracts, so I don't have that data yet from them because they're like in progress on that as we speak. But so they offer the curbside and the drop-off recycling. They do curbside as a bulk rate. They do trash stickers, and they're doing stickers where it's $4 for each sticker, and it's got to be on every bag. So they do curbside, but you have to have the sticker on the bag or the bag gets left. You have somebody like Danvers where there's no fee, it's piled into their tax rate. They did do a thing where they bought everybody a bin when they went to curbside. They got these new special arm bins. they did an override to fund those. And then if you want additional bins, it's between 160 and 180 for the second bin.
But these are the bins for the trucks that have.
Automated.
Yeah, and then you do have Topsfield, they also do curbside. They have the option to use the Boxford Recycling Center. So by doing curbside, they didn't eliminate the recycling center, they still offer that piece. They do a decal, one decal barrel per resident. The barrels have to not exceed 36 gallons. The max weight is 40 pounds. And they're doing $2 trash stickers, which everything has to have a sticker on it, either a bag or an item. And some of the stickers get more expensive the bigger the item gets. Your first barrel decal can be free, but basically once you're out of that first barrel, it's $2 a sticker for every bag. So that's Topsfield. So I will say that I've looked at it extensively. I actually brought this spreadsheet with me from my prior community. In my prior community, we had the challenge of curbside, and it was when one of the companies went out of business, because this is such a volatile market right now. That's why we want to talk about it and hear your feedback. I think from my perspective, I was on the team, on the administration that was here when we first brought this problem to the Finance Committee and Select Board. And the reason why we identified it as a problem is not because we had a solution that we wanted to go in a specific direction. This is so valuable to have this feedback, because every community does it a little different. Every transfer station across the Commonwealth, I think we've looked at 10 transfer stations across the Commonwealth. They function completely differently. There's no prescribed way of how to do this. We want to meet your needs. We also are trying desperately to try to keep the fees in check and the tax rate in check at the same time. And I will tell you, it's a challenge because, for example, I think John talked about it a little bit earlier, and you can knock me off my soapbox once I give this example. We're paying right now one person that's assigned to the transfer station that's full-time out of our DPW crew of about a half dozen people. Everyone else is part-time. It's really challenging to find part-time people that want to be at the transfer station. In the summer, we do really well. The college kids come home. We can get a few more people. This time of year, it's very challenging. And if we don't have enough people on the weekends, we're bringing in DPW folks either on time and a half or overtime. So I've qualified hydraulic license folks, water operators, people that are plowing your roads. They may be plowing through a storm and then having to come into the transfer station. That's difficult for them. It's putting a lot of task on these 6 people as just human beings that do a lot of physical labor. And it's an awful expense because we're paying these full-time employees that double time, which, you know, that's great for them in the long run, but it is a lot on them. So I think that's just one of the considerations. It's not a problem that we can solve tonight. It's not a problem that this conversation is solving, but it's just one of the challenges that we're thinking about on the back end that is at play.
So a combination, for example, increase the price of transfer stickers, do Tuesday, Thursdays, and have one of the days go till 8 o'clock. Because I can't go on Wednesday because I go into Boston, so it's useless to me. But do that, right? Weekdays, you get rid of the time and a half and all that. 12 to 8, so somebody who's maybe working that day, you know, maybe they're extended a little bit, but they're not coming in for the weekend, right? It's like, you know, we all sometimes work extra long days, but try not to do it on a Saturday. So maybe that combination.
But I think that's helpful for us to hear, because I certainly don't want to be the person to suggest closing a weekend day with not a solution for an alternative that works for the community. Because you folks are the folks that are going there on a weekly basis. That need still has to be full because.
Yeah, one day. You keep a Saturday. And then
Yeah.
And would 8 o'clock be late?
I would,
sort of knew when you could plan ahead, 8 o'clock would be late enough.
for me.
I would take restricted hours versus curbside any day of the week.
I'm with you. Yes.
Say, if now what's happening is the cost of recycling is roughly equal to the cost of the trash. But the sticker price is 5 to 1. So maybe the recycle sticker is going to go to $100 and
The
the
recycling
other
sticker
sticker's got to
definitely
go
would
to
go up.
$200.
I agree 100%.
Right.
So, John, if the ultimate recommendation you're going to make to the select board, is sort of maintaining, the transfer station with whatever adjustments in schedule, I think it would also, be helpful if you get to a recommendation of how much of the operating budget of the transfer station goes on the tax rate and how much, funded through stickers.
Right.
So, whether it's 20%, 30%, whatever that and then the fee, the sticker can be adjusted, annually.
So I think that is in our plan, if we're recommending a transfer station model, is to at least recommend how to calculate that fee. So, because
Like a
things change, and we've got so much that we want to consider the cost of having a transfer station, which is on the tax rate, versus the cost of running the transfer station, which is kind of on the sticker. So if we can figure out from a budget standpoint how to divide that up, then you could just get a report and say, and this year the sticker is $175. And then next year it's $180 or $170 or whatever, depending upon how it shakes out.
Once you get that, it's that big jump, right, is the issue, but once you're at 175 or 80, it goes up $5 every year. I mean, everything we pay for goes up 3 or 4. It's just, if you keep that,
Yeah.
and it's not a huge expense every year, and it becomes stable, people can budget that, but it's so much better.
Right, the initial one is the.
When we bring plastic to wherever you're bringing it, do you know what they do with the plastic, if anything?
They make it disappear. I don't know. I would let them melt it down.
Turn it into fleece.
From my understanding, there's a limited amount of plastic that they're actually processing that is being turned into anything useful.
Right, it gets thrown away, a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even Greenpeace is talking about, doesn't make sense to even do it anymore, to do
Yeah, we
plastic.
need to cut down.
They're even starting to
plastic
talk like that.
consumption.
You should
Yeah.
read
There's no market.
Yeah, it's kind of like you say, it's to
Yeah.
educate people and say, instead of having, sorry, John. Instead of having this, you should have water that you put in a mug and then you wash it, or dishwasher, that kind of thing. And those are all very important things that we also have to do as part of an education component of this.
We stopped those plastic bottles in my house. We don't buy them anymore.
Yeah.
Bottles, we don't have them.
A nice little water refill store right down the street.
We don't buy it either, I got
We
this.
have bottled water for people, folks like you, take that out of here.
What about the single-use plastic bags? Have you thought of getting rid of those?
We actually, at one of our very.
I see a lot of them
I
hanging
think
in
they did.
trees.
I think they were going to before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and it
Right.
was go back to the single stream
Right,
plastic
that's
bags,
right.
and they haven't gone away from it.
What am I gonna put my
That's
dog
true,
waste in?
but there
I need those
are
bags.
some people that are considering banning the single-use plastic bags like they have in other communities. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that popped up.
I know if you go to Maine, you have to bring your own bags. They won't even sell paper bags.
That's most places around here now too.
Charge you for a bag.
Drive out around the back of Market Basket sometime if you want to see what that really does.
Yeah.
Having the plastic bags available as freely as they are here.
I actually found out that there were 2 people from
Just bring it back.
Scotland,
They got
that
recycling.
they've come up with a way to take plastic and they, grind it up or mix it with something. Now they're paving roads with it.
They do it
We have a
in
lot of
India.
roads in this country that could use some paving.
By the way, the tire bin down there, does that still pay for itself? I mean, we have to pay for the tires, that must be pretty expensive, or are we getting compensated for that?
I know.
Because I know when I go get new tires, they charge me a fee to dispose of them anyway, and I don't even have a choice anymore. I used to be able to choice and say, give me the $3 back and I'll bring them down the dump, I can't even do that. So I don't see the point of having a tire bin anymore. Because you can't get out of your recycling bin.
Saves you.
No, I can't even get it back from them. I'm like, I'll take the old tires with me, and they're like, I'm sorry, it's still $3 a piece. I'm like, well, then take them.
John, I think Jerry brings up a good point. The recycling market could change over time.
Yeah, that's right.
We know it is the right thing to do. We should keep doing it.
Just trying to think of things we might
One other
trim
thing,
down there.
We were on the first solid waste committee years ago. We went and looked at transfer stations and it was very interesting. And what hasn't been mentioned tonight is people at that time, a lot of townies, I know I'm not a townie, you won't let me be one yet. We talked about the rural nature of the town. And they said, oh, the transfer station, we don't want large, big trucks rumbling through our streets and people who are concerned with safety and that. So it was, the transfer station seemed to be, and I've been to a couple others, one in Maine and one in New Hampshire recently. Ours looks so much better run than what I've seen. The one in New Hampshire especially, you'd be horrified going in there, seeing the debris all over the place.
Like our old landfill.
Yeah, well, the old landfill, you remember dumping it on the ground and then
And
Joey's
beating
father
up the
would cover
seagull.
it. But anyway, the rural nature of the town, that sort of the transfer station. Plus, just to sum up sort of a consensus I think I'm getting, if we raise the price to 200, still a bargain, big time bargain. But you have to justify that to the people because they're going, oh, no, that much, let's get this right. So, anyway.
And what I will say, is I want, you know, Roger was talking earlier about how, you know, to kind of keep the gap or close it and keep it the same. There are those variable costs that could be affected by people saying, I don't know, I can pay $10 a week, that's $500 a year. I got kids going to soccer in the mornings, I got a hockey practice. I'm just gonna pay somebody to pick it up. So you could potentially lose that. I mean, my generation is probably the ones who would, just to be honest, because we've got a million things going on Saturdays and Sundays and after school. So I definitely appreciate that, but that is part of the
choice for them
calculation.
to do.
Right.
So
Right.
that's always a choice to do.
Right,
Pay for
but
that
stickers are paying for fixed costs, like this, just the operation of the transfer station itself, and you lose that income. You lose enough of that revenue from people who are just like, maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but it's easier to go to private pickup. It could affect.
I don't trust them.
We don't know.
If it does affect them, you know that, right? So then you have
Right.
another option, and if you want to go to curbside,
Yeah,
you could do that.
it's just one of those unknowns that we can't really
No, of course you don't know,
quantify
but
at this
again,
point.
it's, you just have to try it,
Right.
because it's still gonna be a bargain. I don't
And-
think you pay $10 a week for curbside.
I have no idea what you pay.
And the other thing is,
Well, whatever you pay, and then you gotta want to
And
say
the-
too, I am extremely concerned about trash everywhere. I mean, this town,
Right.
unfortunately, it is everywhere, and people
Yeah.
still dump stuff in the woods. So, if you train people in this town that you have an option to go to the transfer and do what we're doing, like a change, I think would be a problem. Because, you know, to Jeff's prior point, you know, you get barrels, people like, I don't wanna pay, I'm just gonna dump it behind my house, you know, I'm gonna let it fly up and collect my product, you know, because I don't really care. Because we have enough of that, I'm really, yeah.
and I think, you know, to your point there though, I think there's already curbside pickup that people pay for. So I think right now, that if there were really a lot of people who just couldn't be bothered and just will pay the extra money, I mean, I think they would be paying for curbside pickup now. I mean, you know.
Well, you know, in the past, when we raised the sticker fee, you know, we haven't raised it by like $75 and, you know, it went from 125 to 200, but we have raised it by like $25 from 75 to 100, from 100 to 125.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really an impact on the number of stickers sold.
Right, actually, the numbers went up.
But
As
The
the assistant
question
secretary
is,
was
at
saying.
what point does it? That's
Well,
my
you
point.
don't
At what
know.
point does it?
I understand, and not known until we actually do it.
Right,
But,
right.
but we just need to be careful that you put too much of the revenue of the transfer station on the sticker, and the number of stickers drops by 10%, now you have a problem.
Right.
So that's why you need a mix of
Yeah.
the having it and having it staffed portion is on the tax rate. And so that if the number of people buying stickers dropped in half, you could reasonably expect the tonnage to drop in half, so the budget would drop by an appropriate amount.
Yeah.
So you don't want to load it too much onto the sticker.
If I can try, I'd like a comparable example to another way to think about it is, we do retain money from the ambulance when when we go on call, we do billing, we help bill the health insurance companies. That money gets transferred into the operating budget that you approve at the town meeting every year. We partially fund the fire department from that money, but we keep the fire department salaries and budget in that general fund budget that gets approved by town meeting on the tax rate. We do reduce that need with the ambulance revenue, but we can't predict the ambulance revenue in a given year. To your point, we don't know. We're not betting on people needing medical calls. We need to be there when they do, but we can't plan for it. So I think that's where, to both Carolyn and John's point, it's gonna be a fluid thing, because we don't know what's coming with the cost of the tipping, and we don't know if, the sticker price is going to bring people down, if it's gonna bring people up. That's the part that we have to be fluid every year when we look at the numbers.
If the cost of the tipping is gonna go up for the transfer station, then private trash carriers, they're gonna have to pay increased cost.
How long is the contract with the incinerator? When we sign one in June, is it 3 year, 2 year, 1 year?
So that's a great question. So they used to historically be about 8 to 10 years.
8 to 10 years.
But because the market has changed so dramatically, they are only doing 3-year contracts now, because they know.
And that's long.
And how about the contracts for the rest of our recycling pickup? Do we have periodic, or is that spot price, or how does that
It's
work?
something, so trash is a unique animal in the municipal procurement world, so it's spot work. We're constantly checking vendors. There's not a lot of market competition, so we keep the contracts going. We get new quotes as often as we can, but there's not a lot of market activity.
So it's not like we have a fixed contract with somebody to come pick up our paper or anything like that?
No.
It's spot?
Which can actually hurt us, because it means it
Fluctuates, right?
Yeah, there's more ability for it to peak and valley, because there's not an even field plateau.
So when we get a full container, we look for a buyer? Is that kind of how it works?
No, we go year by year. We
Year by
look
year,
for
okay.
somebody for the year.
Okay.
And that's why we have the compactors that we have now, because that was better to get vendors for than it would have been.
And wasn't in one of our meetings that we had with Holland, they talked about how there's been a great deal of consolidation of recycling firms and trash firms, and because of that, it creates a pressure on the market because you have less options.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand that.
Going to it.
So that's also been happening too.
There's less businesses to shop for a better price, because now they've cornered the market and there's just 2 or 3 large firms.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody know what the cost of private pickup is today?
Yeah, well, my neighbor pays about, I think, somewhere between 40 and 60 bucks a week. You realize
So we
a week-
priced it, when we priced it, it
That's
was 400,
$2,000.
majority was 600, some people were paying 1400. So when we looked at it in Middleton, the pricing that we were able to get was 400. Most are 600 a year, but some people pay as high as 1400 a year, and they just do it, they don't care.
$200 sticker is fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why 1500 people got it instead of 1200.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea how much of a difference it would make if you keep the plastic bags out of the plastic? And, people aren't separating it.
Right.
If you really actually just give them the plastic that's supposedly recyclable without the plastic bags, how much of it, would that make any difference for you?
I think it would make it a lot easier to get rid of the plastic.
That's what I'm-
Stop
yeah.
having loads rejected, so that.
That's
So that costs real money.
Yes.
I think, but the data's kind of anecdotal at this point, that no one's counting it. We had 8 loads rejected, it cost us $300 to clean each one. We don't know that information. But you can bet that it's expensive, and I think that the fix is going to be make it convenient for people to not throw the single-use plastic bags in with the plastic recycling. And if you can make it convenient and somewhat obvious that you're not supposed to do it, that should cut down on a lot of the problem. Some people don't care, they're just going to toss it in.
I understand
Periodically.
that some people don't care, but that drives the cost up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
it does.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
I think a portion of what he's talking about is just, again, going back to signage, instructions, whatever. People, every single time you go to one of the plastic dumpsters, there's people that have full bags of plastic in there. They're not doing that on purpose, you know, they wouldn't be bothering to put the plastic in a plastic bag if they thought they were doing it, you know, needlessly, you know, if they don't know.
They need to know politely but somewhat firmly, and they need a convenient place to get rid of the plastic bag, because what are you gonna do? Right,
Yeah.
throw it back in your car and take it down to the,
Right, because they don't know that barrel is there for the plastic bag.
Make a bigger barrel to it, look on over there when the thing's full.
Well, the lid's broken now anyway, so.
John, I think, just as one point, if you make sure when you present in February to all the town boards, the Board of Selectmen and everybody, that you change that slide up so you already deduct the constant cost of landfill maintenance, because already there, it looks so much better.
Right.
If you take that off.
right, we still have to tease that out of the budget.
Right, so when you, by February, when you present that, maybe if you already do that, it doesn't look so bad to start with. And I think people.
It's not an insignificant number, and
No, it's a
it
huge
doesn't
number.
belong in that line, so.
If I can too, we're already doing a lot of construction this year as we're preparing for the municipal complex. So the budget's gonna look really different at town meeting this year anyway.
It looks different in my house too.
It's all
right. And they make things out of it.
Yeah, there's other issues in the budget that need to be straightened out as well, so it's not just that, so.
Yes, thank you for sharing your thoughts.
The 600, have somebody pick up.
My grandfather and
The thing about the show, I saw it.